Welcome, two-time Grammy-winning, 10 times Grammy-nominated producer, all the way from New Jersey. Welcome, Illmind to VladTV.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for the invite. Shout to VladTV. Shout to you guys. You guys are the OGs in this space at this point. Still crushing it, so it's an honor to be here.
For sure. Yeah, I'm honored too. I have a soft spot for producers.
Oh, that's
So,
good.
you know.
That's good. That's good. Hopefully for good reason. Yes, because it's pretty hard what we do.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And your catalog is insane.
Thank you.
Like, how do you feel just being where you are from where you came? I know you've been grinding for a long time.
It feels great. It feels great. I wake up every day like pinching myself, like reminding myself that like this is real, the adventure of being a music producer is both really fulfilling, but also very unpredictable. Right. And so you're like balancing this, these feelings of excitement and abundance and fulfillment, but also, many things don't work and failing many times and understanding that, you really need to have that consistency and thick skin to really last in this industry. And, I'm still learning. Every day I'm still learning about the process, but it's been pretty incredible, man. So I'm really just grateful every day.
Definitely. It's crazy because I think Vlad started out making beats, but he was like, well, I'm not good at it, so abort mission.
That's good. I mean, it worked out.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
Yeah, so.
For sure. Man, if you don't mind, just want to start at the beginning. I know you're from New Jersey. What was that like growing up? I feel like, there's so many stars that come out of New Jersey. We have Queen Latifah, Redman, Ice-T, Fetty Wap, you. But how does it feel to be from New Jersey and putting that city on the map?
It's pretty crazy, being from Jersey. There's so many, you've named all legends, right? And I think that Jersey is kind of a unique place because it's like right next to New York. It's almost like the fifth borough in a way. And so a lot of the New York feeling and influence is in New Jersey. I think that in terms of music, we still have a lot to prove, I think, right? I've been living in Brooklyn, New York for the past 12 years. And so I kind of feel like I'm in both. Like I feel like I'm from Brooklyn, but I'm from Jersey, obviously. And so there's a lot of similarities with the two, but Jersey has birthed many, many legends, like you named. Obviously, Just Blaze from Patterson,
right? And
he's one of the GOAT producers. So it feels great to know that I'm coming from a place with like other legends, right? So,
definitely.
Yeah.
What brought you to Brooklyn?
So I moved to Brooklyn about 12 years ago. And it's the energy there is just incredible. Obviously it's home of legends like Biggie, obviously, and I'm not going to name them because you guys probably know by now, but there's a certain energy in Brooklyn, and being around the people and being around that definitely is influential in like my decision making, my sound, what I'm influenced by, the different like textures and colors and sounds that exist in Brooklyn are super inspiring. So that's been kind of like a part of my heart for a long time. Yeah,
definitely. How was it? Because I think Vlad actually relocated to New York at the height of the hip hop era, like when the mixtapes were popping, the CDs, the DVDs. How was that era for you? Because I imagine you're a hip hop head. I know you liked J Dilla for sure. That's a legend. Rest in peace.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun time. I felt like they were simpler times, right? It was very much, Fat Beats New York was still there, and like the record shopping was like a thing. And you'd have like pop-up shows happening like a lot more often, like damn near every day almost. There was some type of event, like big or small, right? And so it was very energetic. There was a lot of energy in New York, and I would say like, well, for me, my era was kind of like 2004, 2005 was when I really started going hard. on producing. So that was when I was active, like going to New York from New Jersey, commuting and going to the parties. And yeah, it was a good time, man. Like it was a lot of building, a lot of like legendary artists were like born, not born literally, but like birthed their careers during that era. So yeah, you know, it's hip hop has come such a long way. And I think we're still pulling influence from that era, you
Right.
know, just in everything that we do right now. And I think that's a testament to how special that era was. And, you know, obviously, yeah, J Dilla is the producer and the reason why I do this, right?
That's beautiful.
When I first heard his beats, me hearing his beats was what's what made me want to pursue music production, because you know the way he flipped sound and the way his beats sounded just made me so curious and so inspired that I've always just used him as kind of like the blueprint for, you know, 99% of everything I do. So
Crazy,
yeah.
99%.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you know, his movement and his approach, his instinct is what I've studied and what has become part of my own process, right? You know, it's like I always tell people, you know, how interesting would it be if J Dilla was alive? What kind of beats would he be making today? And like when I say that, I get chills because it like my mind is blown by the types of things he would have done if he was still around. And so, you know, one of the things that I really appreciate about J Dilla is how diverse he is with his music. You know, he does soul, he does dirty Detroit club music, he does dance music even, right? And the thing that I noticed about J Dilla is what really, really sets him apart isn't his bass lines or his drums or his swing or him being the godfather of lo-fi, which in my opinion he is. J Dilla, what sets him apart from everyone else is his instinct to take a soul record and chop it in the way that he does and then decide to not add any drums because the shit slap already, right? And that's, you know, I'm referring to Donuts.
For sure.
And so
Iconic.
he just has these instinctual movements in his music, and I've always admired that. And so that's what I always try to tap into, regardless of what genre I'm producing.
For sure. It's funny because I just interviewed AG Shike. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's an LA rapper.
Not super
But
familiar.
he said he couldn't figure out Pro Tools. Was it hard for you to learn? And how was that first beat?
Yeah. So it wasn't super, I wouldn't say it was hard to learn. It just took a long time to get used to it and to just like be able to maneuver around Pro Tools. And I'm glad I started early in learning Pro Tools because, you know, fast forward many years later, it's still industry standard. You know, every studio you go into, it's Pro Tools. So me knowing how to maneuver around it relatively quickly is always a plus, you know, because I'm an engineer too, technically, right? Like I can get in a session and if we need to get vocals done, as long as they have Pro Tools, I could be the engineer in the session and knock it out. So, and then my first beats were bad, of course. Yeah, you know, my first beats were, I was basically copying my idols and learning. In doing that, I was learning how to make beats. So it's almost like they mentored me without me knowing I was being mentored. Like I would copy J Dilla's beats, like just to understand how he made his beats. And then I would copy, you know, Manny Fresh, and I would copy, you know, Pete Rock and DJ Premier and like just all these incredible producers, DJ Quick, Dre. And in copying them in the early days, I was able to sort of like pick up those techniques a little bit and study those techniques and then you know, insert my own technique in the process. And you know, when you do that for enough years, you kind of get a rhythm for things. And so I'm still learning every day and still finding new bops and new grooves to learn from. And so it's been a really fun process. Yeah.
Definitely. It's crazy. You mentioned Dre. I was just listening to the Eminem show on the road trip. Was there, like, that album changed it for me. Was there an album that changed it for you? Like,
Yeah, again, I'll go back to Dilla.
Okay.
Fantastic Volume 2,
Okay.
Slum Village. Like,
Oh, I love Slum Village.
yeah, like that album changed my perspective on how fire beats could be, man. Like, just I've never heard any beats so fire at that time. And when I heard them, I was just the soul and the movement and just the cadences were so incredible. And that, you know, that was the album that was like for me the nail in the coffin. When I heard it, I was like, all right, I'm doing this shit. Like I'm gonna try like I'm gonna pursue beat making and
For
producing.
sure.
So yeah, I would say Fantastic Volume 2, but you know, there's so many albums. Like I just have to pick that one because like Dilla is basically the GOAT. So,
Definitely. Before you did you work any part-time jobs before the music?
So yeah. I worked at a record store at the mall, like a music store when they used to exist. So like CDs and all that shit. And I'm pretty sure that was the last like job. I had a job. Actually, I did have a job teaching. So I worked at a nonprofit organization in Harlem. And it was an after school program where kids would come there and there would be tutoring and art services. So there was like a graphic design class. There was theater class, and then there was a music class. And so I actually worked at the music class in this after school program in Harlem, and we would teach the kids Pro Tools and Reason, and just teach them how to make beats. And it was a really, really amazing program because what it does is it takes inner city kids in Harlem, and the concept is it takes them off the street and puts them somewhere else where they could where they could learn the arts and just kind of change the dynamic of what they're able to do. And so I was able to do that, and that was around 2008 for a couple of years I worked there. So yeah.
Amazing. That must have been fun being in a music.
It was super fun. It was super fun, and there was so much talent too. You got to think high school kids in 2010 are now in their mid 20s,
right,
mid to late 20s. So it's like the amount of talent that was in there. I can imagine. I like, you got me thinking about some of my students now, because I'm like, yeah, they're probably at that age where they're either like really, really knee deep in pursuing it, or like experiencing like some type of like success story of some sort.
I love that. Yeah. What was your first big placement then?
Mine?
Yeah.
So that answer kind of changes sometimes, because technically my first big sort of like life-changing alteration was probably with 50 Cent. It was a song I did called Make a Movie. And that was back in 2006 when I was doing some work with G Unit, when they were really like on top of the world back then. But the real life-changing moment for me and placement was The Morning on Cruel
Kanye.
Summer. Yeah.
That's good iconic.
Music. Yeah. Good music. Kanye album. The song called The Morning. And, I had everyone on it. It was Cudi, Raekwon, Common, 2 Chainz, D'banj. Kanye was on it. Raekwon. So, to have produced a song like that at that time was definitely a turning point. And so, from there, it just really starts to snowball.
Right. I definitely want to touch on that, but I want to touch on the G Unit stuff first. Well, real quick before that, I saw that you worked with Little Brother early on too as well.
I did. Yeah, that was around the G Unit era.
Oh,
so
okay.
I ended up producing 4 songs on the Get Back album.
Wow.
Which came out in 2008, and that was the second to last Little Brother album, I believe, before they went on like a small break.
Yeah.
But the Little Brother days made me who I am. You know, that was, for me, it was all about J Dilla and OK Player and like the Roots and Little Brother and shout to my big brothers, man, Ninth and Fonte and Pooh and Crisis too. They really embraced me early, as like just this like kid from New Jersey, this Asian kid from New Jersey that like makes these like soulful, hard beats. And, you know, that was definitely a really amazing era. And I really miss those times, man. Because like I said, they were simpler times, but Little Brother, they're legendary.
For
Always.
sure. I don't
Yeah.
know if you saw recently, but Doja Cat went on live and she was like
I saw
rapping
that.
to them.
She was rapping the Listening album.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, the music speaks for itself. You know, it's like there's longevity in it, and it's a
Totally.
testament to how special that music was. So
Definitely.
yeah, shout to Little Brother.
For sure. Man, I definitely want to touch on 2006. How was that meeting with G Unit Records? I actually know Shaw Money, so shout out to him. What was going through your head? Because they eventually signed you to a management deal, right?
Yeah.
At 24 years old?
Yeah. So I got a DM from at the time the head of A&R. I believe he was head of A&R at G Unit, and his name's D Prosper. Shout to D Prosper. And he sent me a message on MySpace, and he's like, "Yo, Illmind, I heard your beats. They're fire. Send me some stuff." And so I sent him some of my beats. I sent him like 30 beats. And a couple days later, he messaged me back, and he's like, or I gave him my phone number, and then he texted me, and he was like, "Yo, your beats are fire. Shaw Money, our president G Unit wants to meet you. Come meet us." And so a couple days later, I went and I met Shaw Money and D Prosper over at a studio in New York City. This was 2000, like 2006, 2005, something like that. And I met with Shaw Money, and the first thing he said to me was, "Yo, man, your beats are fire. You're like the Filipino fire, man." And like we started laughing, and I'll never forget that, because when you think about G Unit at that time, you're talking about 50 Cent, like just going like diamond and just being, he's literally just untouchable.
Right.
And then every single artist on his roster, platinum. Like at that time, that was unheard of. And it's actually still unheard of. Like, I don't think there's any like artist label where every single artist, like literally every single artist on that roster went platinum.
Wow.
So they were super iconic, and I'm just a kid from New Jersey who got recognized by them enough to sign a management deal. So we definitely got to know each other, and I signed a management deal, and it changed my life because it taught me work ethic and believing in myself and really just pushing myself to the limit, and I got in a little late. Like that was around the time where Unit was kind of like pivoting and changing its course, and then it started to kind of diminish over time. And so I didn't want to just rely on like being signed to what they were doing in G-Unit. And I'm forever grateful to Shaw Money for giving me that opportunity. And so we had to pivot and do some things. So as a music producer, I started to explore different sounds and start working with different people. And, from there, it obviously worked out. So
definitely.
Yeah. So shout to G-Unit, shout to Shaw Money, D Prosper. I'm forever grateful for them for giving me an opportunity and really instilling that work ethic in me, and knowing that, like, making me believe in myself.
For sure. Yeah. How were those early conversations with 50, and did you guys make the record in the studio?
Yeah. So they were really, really amazing. I mean, 50, he's a great guy, like, I haven't seen him recently, right, in person, but
he's been killing it with power.
Yeah, he's 50. He's iconic. His jersey's on the rafter, like he's a GOAT. And so, all the conversations I've had with him have been like, he's just super passionate. I remember going to his office one day, G-Unit office in Manhattan, and he was just playing me. He's like, "Yo, I recorded to a bunch of your shit." So he was just like playing me a bunch of stuff that he recorded to my beats, and just that was one of those moments again where I was just like, man, I can't believe I'm like here with 50, and he's like playing me stuff that he rapped over. Like my beats are good enough for 50 to want to rap over them, and that's what kept going on in my mind. And so, shout to Fifth, man. He's incredible.
Did you end up working with other artists on the label?
Yeah, I connected with Yayo but we to this day we haven't been able to make anything together. But
Yeah.
but he's another one, another goat. So
Definitely.
yeah.